Early in the Morning, spelled Mourning, was the earliest book of poetry I did. These poems were collected between the years 1954, early 1954, and early 1960, from age 12 through 16. Most of my earliest poems were sort of parodies of popular songs of the time that you'll see in here. And the others probably reflect the angst and moods of a adolescent and teenage boy in the 1950s. Ballad of Peppy the Pup. Peppy was my toy fox terrier that my grandfather gave me when I was 5 years old. She died around 1960, 61. Born in a valley bowl in Pennsylvania, one day to be named the pup Peppy. Blind for some days, numbering 3, before she was taken, the world to see, Peppy. Wherever it was, cats awoke and rose, tormenting nights with kittenish woes. Peppy would scamper out, there she goes. Battles with cats were something she knows, Peppy. It was in the year 44 she left her ground, traveling in a car up one hill then down, till she traveled to Downingtown, where she was a gift from Pap Brown, Peppy. 15 years passed swift and too fast, avoiding cars and chasing cats, this is past. Growling at play, how much we both would laugh. She has stopped and gone where you go at last. White and pepper spotted, speed demon and friend and dog, Peppy. That last verse was added in 1960. These next 26 poems come from the first poetry reading I did at the request of my high school senior English teacher. These were performed in late 1958, perhaps not early 1959. You'll see how some of them are parodies of popular songs. Actually, Peppy the Pup was a parody of the Ballad of Davy Crockett, which was extremely popular at one time. And so was this next one. This was a #1 song, went on for weeks and weeks on a show that was called The Hit Parade. Rich Man, 16 Tons. Some people say a man is made out of mud. A rich man is made out of money he loves. Money he loves and dollars and cents. A wallet that's thick and a safe that's strong. He loads 16 tons of cash every day. 16 tons, and that ain't hay. St. Peter, don't you call him, 'cause you all know you can't take it with you, so he won't go. He was born one morning when the sun shone bright, and everything he tries just seems to go right. His pa was rich, owned many a sou, so you knew the boy would be loaded too. He loads 16 tons of cash every day, 16 tons, and that ain't hay. St. Peter, don't you call him, 'cause you all know you can't take it with you, so he won't go. Born on a morning when the sun did shine, picked up his wallet and walked to the mine. Bought 16 tons of 14-karat gold. He was a millionaire when 10 years old. He loads 16 tons of cash every day. 16 tons, and that ain't hay. St. Peter, don't you call him, 'cause you all know you can't take it with you, so he won't go. If you see him coming, don't beg for a dime, because you would be just wasting your time. His heart is a coal black, and in the voice of conscience is one big lack. He loads 16 tons of cash every day. 16 tons, and that ain't hay. St. Peter, don't you call him, 'cause you all know you can't take it with you, so he won't go. 1955. Willie Ameere's Drive. See if you can recognize where this was stolen from. Hey, my friends, come over and hear about the reckless drive of Willie Ameere. It happened back in the year of 57, late on a hot July night, nearing 11. Do you recall what happened that year? He warned his gang, if the police come, here looking for me sometime tonight, swallow your tongue and play act dumb, and try to confuse 'em until daylight. Sin one here and another sin there. Tell them anything the traffic will bear. Meanwhile, I'm fleeing in fear and rage through every countryside village, trying to escape from the law's long arm. On through the night drew Willie Ameere, tearing the night apart in fear and rage. On through every countryside village, yelling a cry of defiance edged in fear. Noise in the darkness, accelerator to the floor, and a rumbling muffler that'll echo evermore. Then bore on that night's wind of the past, through darkened streets to death at last. He drove the sound and smoke and fire. The people still waken and listen to hear the hurried wheels of that hurried car, and the death-choked cry of Willie Ameere. Even though it referenced it was in a night in 1957, the poem was written in 1956. And of course it's sort of a parody of The Midnight Ride of Paul Revere by Longfellow. A long way from Longfellow. I don't think I can put on my Elvis Presley sideburns and southern drawl, but this one's called I Beg of You. I don't want my head to be broken. It's the only one I got. Darling, please be careful. I know you've bared a lot. Please don't break my head. I beg of you. I don't want my blood a-dripping. You know I'd hate to die. And that's what's bound to happen if your temper gets too high. Darling, please don't get so high. I beg of you. Hold my hand and promise you won't make it black and blue. Even if I know you hate me through and through. Little girl, you got me miserable. Must you shoot me too? Please don't take advantage of my bruises blue. Darling, please, please don't do. I beg of you. 57. Hot Rod Richard. This was written to one of my best friends at the time, named Richard A. Wilson. He died in his 60s, unfortunately. Hot Rod Richard come roaring around the bend in a souped-up streeter with a sleek down back rear end. Into the straightaway and around the curve again. He sure does move, that mess of tin. Hot Rod Richard in his car decked and stripped down, going along the road really, covering ground. Fastest wheel-riding cat in all rural Pottstown, riding with a loud glass pipe sound. He is the hot rodder, the coolest girls all chase, for this cat wins in every dragging flat race. As the hot rod king, Richard is no disgrace. He holds the hand with every ace. 1957. Little flattery there, tell you the truth. A teenage girl at a big star record hop in 1957. Listen to the guitar, hear the drum beat. Elvis is real cool, Minnie-O is neat. April Love crooning, bebop baby spins. Ricky Nelson is there, singing like he don't care. Really dishing him out from Treat Me Nice and Go Cat Go on to Alcoholic Mice. Let's swing to the beat, last record repeat. Everybody here making with the big cheer, listening to the drum beat. Hear the guitar, Everly's are really cool, Fats is out far. Frankenstein. Try that again. Frankenstein. They said I was mad, but I'll show them who's mad. I'll build a monster that will destroy the world. I'm not mad. So I built me a body and I installed a brain. Then I waited for thunder, lightning, and rain. I put it on a stand, and when the lightning came, it's alive! Felix is alive! Who's insane? Felix didn't like him. He beat him with a cane. Then one day, when Felix did it just the same, the mad monster hung him by a very long, heavy chain and let him dangle there in the pouring rain. They used to come to me and say, Baron Frankenstein, pay your bills, they've been due a long, long time. But they met my monster with his skin sweating slime, and they haven't bothered me any more about my crime. What was that shrill, horrid scream? Let me go see. They've killed my deathless monster and hung him in a tree. But who could have done it? Who could have defeated me? Why, it's the U.S. Army and General Elvis Presley. Stranger. They whispered, there's a stranger and he's riding towards town. They wondered where he'd come from and why he's coming round. Was he a criminal, wanted by the law? What was his name? Was he fast on the draw? Would he run if someone caught his bluff? Or wouldn't poker-faced words be sufficient enough? Where had he come from? Where would he go? Everybody wondered, nobody knew. He rode a large horse, both palely white. They stood out clearly, riding at night. Could he be bested? How was his hook? Everybody watched him. Everybody shook. He settled himself into the Longhorn Cattle Hotel, and for a goodly moment, everything went pretty well. But one chill autumn day, Ed Black came along, and said by sundown, the stranger had best be gone. He didn't run. So they squared off in the street, and right after the battle, they buried Ed Black deep. The stranger rode away without a scratch, and we knew who he was, one no one could match. 1957. But instead of jazz, just the other day or so I went wrong. Turned the radio to hear a jazz song. But all I got, beside the news, was a nursery rhyme. Instead of jazz, I got a nursery sing. Yes, instead of jazz, I heard this tune prancing through my living room. Mary had a little lamb, little lamb, little lamb. Damn. I thought I would be smart and change the dial, and so I did. But in a little while, yes, all I got, beside the news, was a nursery sing. Instead of jazz, I got a nursery sing. Jingly verses were all they would play. Come on, man, just go away. A tasket, a green and yellow basket. Blast it. The rest of the day, those records did spin until my aching brain began to swim. For all I got beside the news was a nursery sing. Instead of jazz, I got a nursery sing. Though I got the farmer in the dell, I didn't feel very well. Farmer in the dell, farmer in the dell, hell. Then I got mad at a bridge falling down. I threw the radio right to the ground, but all I got beside the news was a nursery sing. Instead of jazz, I got a nursery sing. It did not smash and it did not break. It was more than I could take. London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down, my fair lady. I know. One Main Street. This is an epic poem, you know, one of those Homer-like things. One Main Street. The first poem from 1958, by the way. One Main Street. I picked her up on Main Street because I had run over her feet. Pennsylvania. I'd like to go back to the home I adore in Pennsylvania. I'd like to go back and to roam no more from Pennsylvania. I just would like to see once more the rolling hills covered with snow in mid-December when the winter winds begin to blow in Pennsylvania, and bright little streams and creeks where ice forms over the waterfall. I hear the waters rush and the winds hush, give out a winter call in Pennsylvania. In Pennsylvania, where the fog rolls in, where the sales taxes grow, fall may see the leaves drop, winter sees the falling snow, then spring follows springing, and summer sneaks in knowing that the sales tax keep growing in Pennsylvania, my home. Paul Anka. All we teenagers want to thank you songwriter Paul Anka for writing songs that sound dumb with stupid tunes that we can hum. And you make the young girls all sigh when you warble, yai, yai, yai. Sure, all the adults blanch and gag Every time you start to brag, you've got a girl you really love who comes from heaven up above. As for me, I think it'd be great outside these United States. Maybe Canada is a little sick, if that's where you learn music. I don't want to hear you holler about a leg on your shoulder. All right. Walking, talking sack dress was written for a girl I went with who came to the dance wearing a what was then popular called a sack dress, and they had sack dresses and trapeze dresses at the time, and you know I admire somebody to go out there and follow the fashion, be a little different, but it did strike me as a little unusual. Looking at it today in the pictures, it doesn't look all that strange at all. Walking, talking sack dress. I was walking one night a year ago, walking down a shady lane through the snow, when I heard something in the brush ahead. The rustling it made almost scared me dead. I went closer to it, trying to see, when something jumped out and headed for me. It was the worst sight, and you know the rest. It was a walking, talking sack dress. Oh, is it a monster, or is it a disease? It was a walking, talking chemise. This is exactly what it said. This is how I spent my time in my classes. You know, there were other things to do. You look at your books, or you really want to read those lessons. Called Random Ideas Concerning Certain Pages in My Grammar. Probably why I didn't learn to do grammar very well. Random Ideas Concerning Certain Pages in My Grammar. He dived as quick as a flash and made a big splash and went to the bottom. He threw a warning glance, for he did not advance to the top from the bottom. Please. There's only one thing I wanted out of life, a little woman to be my loving wife, and a few good children playing around me. I guess I'll never see an answer to my dream, no matter how simple it might seem. I can't find any decent love songs. While I was sitting on the couch with my love, watching Cupid shoot his arrows from above, I turned the radio on for some mood music. And now I'm mad at the radio. What am I going to do? All I get out of you is ooh-ee, ooh-ah-ah, ting-tang. Shut up and keep swimming, but no singing. I make a plea to those who write songs. Can't you please stop doing lovers wrong? Please write us a beautiful ballad. I don't think I can stand much more. My baby and me are getting sore from this tasteless musical salad. Yakety-yak, splish, splash. I am becoming a monster. I'm just like the teenage caveman. Don't know the tune to that last one. Not that I can carry a tune anyway. All right, very popular movie back in the 50s. I think it won the Academy Award. It was Bridge in the River Kwai. Which really took a lot of liberty with history in this movie. But the people who actually were the prisoners of war who were forced by the Japanese to be building the bridge it was based on really hated this movie because they felt it did them a real just injustice. But I didn't know a lot of those facts back then. The movie had been out, and I guess this is not politically correct because I'm going to do some dialogues here that probably some people would say are wrong because people don't have sense of humor anymore. Everybody's a little on edge, but it was different back then. I was only a kid, so you'll have to pardon me for this, but it was based on that movie, and it does get a little silly. A cup of tea. We were walking through the jungle the other day when we spied something standing in our way. There stood the meanest Japanese we ever did see, and an English gentleman, a jolly old bean. Japanese, the old broad bridge over my little Kwai. See what I mean? Englishman, what? Oh, I say, old chap, I shall never build a bloody bridge over your blimey river. Japanese. Also, you know, no bread wedge over my liver? Why not? Englishman. Because it's time to have a cup of tea. We're walking through the jungle a year ago, going through the jungle, and progress was slow. We looked out through the bushes, and what did we see? Oh, ooh, 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 there was a flying saucer sitting there, and little green men running everywhere. We did not know what to do, except to turn around, but much to our surprise, they had us around. Saucer man. Why there, old chips, have a cup of tea. We walked through the jungle with those outer space cats. They were educated, and that was that. I do not know where they ever got that hip language, but it sounded like they came from Oxford College. Saucermen. Are you sure you won't have a cup of tea? We got in the spaceship and we took right off. We were flying around in the flying sauce and heading for the moon and explore too, when one of them said to my good friend, "You must have a pot of tea. 'Tis good, you'll say. We come from outer space, got educated in that Oxford place." If ever you're walking through the jungle and you come upon a scene where a Japanese fella is talking with a soldier of the Queen about a bridge to be built over a river, look around for a little green sliver of men who speak with something like an Oxford accent and offer you their tea for not a single cent. They say, "Look, my man, we'll take some of your tea if you'll build this bloody bridge across the blimey river. We're going to blow it up, you know." I know. Terrible accents. Hot Rod. One of my favorite books in my teenage years was Hot Rod by Henry Gregor Felsen. I read most of his teenagers in car books, and I wrote to him, but he never answered my letter. Years later, in the last 3 years actually, I wrote a blog about him, and I heard from his daughter as a result, which I thought was nice. This is called Hot Rod, dedicated to Henry Gregor Felsen. Thunder sounding in the wind, sirens ringing in his brain. He had to beat the police, and he had to beat the train. He had made a little bet what time he'd get to Trenton, and it certainly did look like fate had covered his betting. But they told him not to go. Everybody told him stay home. Yet he had to make the run. He was just compelled to zoom. So he had to beat the time, and he had to win the race. For he had called his own shot. Now he had to save his face. His friends had tried his tricks. They sped through Iowa nights until they met the driver who had turned off his headlights. With a sheet over their faces, they lay in a silent row, his friends ripped in quick death on a road in Iowa. Hot rod, I'm going to slow it down. Hot rod, lay them on the blood-soaked ground. 1958. I still think it's a good book. Goodbye, Tango. The goodbye tango means it's time to go. The night has slipped away. It is tapping the day. The sun is up, so play the goodbye tango. We have danced all night. The dawn is rising bright. Wasn't it fun, though? Play the goodbye tango. The record player goes with songs of prose about love and romance, as through the dark we'd dance. But all good things end. The stars grow dim, and the moon grew low. Play the goodbye tango. 1956. All right, as a teenager, I was a great admirer of Rodgers and Hammerstein plays, musicals. Especially admired Oscar Hammerstein. And in my teen years, I later on wrote a musical play of my own. But this was a parody of South Pacific called South Cemetery. I'm going to drink that blood right out of her neck. I'm going to drink that blood right out of her neck. I'm going to drink that blood right out of her neck. I'm going to drink that blood right out of her neck and guzzle it down my own. I'm going to bite that girl right in her vein. I'm going to bite that girl right in her vein. I'm going to bite that girl right in her vein and listen to her groan. Oh, don't try to spit it out. Slurp it up, bite her mane, dry her vein. But oh, bat, stop that. drain her vein and let her shrivel. Yay, vampire, I'm going to suck that blood right out of her neck. I'm going to suck that blood right out of her neck. I'm going to suck that blood right out of her neck and guzzle it down my own. If the thing don't understand you, if you fly on separate wings, waste no time, make a start, pull that lid right off your chest, push her out of the coffin, and drum her out of the arrest. If you laugh at different funerals, if you root for different ghouls, waste no time, creep no more, show her what the stake is for, place it o'er her heart, and drum it through her breast. Oh no, oh no, I'm gonna drink that blood right out of her neck. I'm gonna drink that blood right out of her neck. I'm gonna drink that blood right out of her neck and guzzle it down my own. Older than Egypt. I touch your hand and your arm falls off. I pat your back, you begin to cough. My eyes look down at your twisted face, and I must admit, with distaste, older than Egypt are you, paler than toothpaste are you, drier than desert sands are the shriveled lips you gave me, gloomier than graves are you, weaker than slaves are you, devil not angel, hell not heaven are you to me. And when you die and decay inside my tomb, and fill my coffin up with dust, then older than Egypt am I, drier than deserts am I, witch and warlock, mummy and thing am I with you. 1957. All these 4 songs are. A Wonderful Woof. I expect everyone in my crowd to make fun of my proud protestations of hypnotic entrances. And they'll say I'm superstitious, a bit naive to believe any legend I hear from some wolf in pants. I've been known to share your practical conclusion, thinking the beast could keep its seclusion, till all of a sudden that moon's full nestitude shone down and hit me smack in the snood. That's how I turned out to be, the hairy young werewolf you see. I'm as hairy as cotton in August, all in the matter of one little poof. No longer a smart little guy with no teeth, I have become a most wonderful woof. I turn in a conventional full moon, from a conventional toe to a hoof. And you will note there is hair on my throat when I turn to that wonderful woof. I'm as gruff and as mean as a crazy loon, a ghoul coming out. I am sharp-toothed with a crocodile grin, dripping blood down my chin. I'm as hairy as cotton in August. I'm as fast as bats from the roof. If you'll excuse the expression I use, I am turning and turning and turning and turning and turning to a wonderful woof. Woof. Some enchanted graveyard. I am not easy opinza. Some enchanted graveyard. There may dwell a ghoul. There may dwell a ghoul inside a crumbled tomb. And therefore you know even then, that someday you will scream again and again. In some enchanted graveyard, something may be laughing, you may hear it laughing, from in a crumbled tomb, and night after night, as strange as it seems, the sound of laughter will echo your screams. Who can explain it? Who can tell you why? Ghouls make you promises, believers always die. Some enchanted graveyard. When you hear it call you, when you hear it call you, from in a crumpled tomb, then fly from the scene and head for your home. Oh, flee for your life from this twilight zone. Once you have met it, it'll never let you go. Once you have met it, it'll never let you go. One to others. I see why I call them others. 1957, Hot Roddin' Baby. Keys turned on, tanks full of gas. Come on, baby, we'll peel out fast. Hit the starter, you grab the wheel. Tires go around. Hear how they squeal? A guy pulls up, he wants to race. I sped by at a terrific pace. One girl got scared, she said, slow down. I let her walk, went back to town. Down the highway, 110. Cop was looking where I had been, speeding on down Route 99, till I saw a red stop sign. Brakes didn't work, smoke and stover. I hit the bank and rolled over. My hot rotten baby, no more. Hot rotten beneath her soddy cover. Sad, isn't it? 1957. Okay, this was written 1956, got published in 1998. Yeah. So you never give up. Ballad of the War Moon. Armed, they followed the war moon, and the war moon was bright. But the midnight sky was cloudy, and dark was the moonlight. They were in the dark time, yet their daydreams dreamt on. And as the rocket's red glare rose, dreams would be banners gone. Their names mean little to us, the deeds they did seem small. Yet their war hope was our peace hope, and our call was their call. Armored they chased the peace moon, though the way was doughty. Now their life will repose forgot, and the moon is cloudy. Cycle. I ask you something strange. Give it a moment's thought. Where do we go from hence, and where do we go not? Pull down from the sky the man in the moon, place him in a hole dug to be his tomb. Would the ocean flood cover all the land, or would the tide go shrinking off the sand? If you pluck a beam near the noonday sun and bind it to stones where creeks overrun, would the color glow rainbow ripples through? Would greenish water infuse bluish hue? Take the tree of youth, turn leaf neath the dirt. Would roots grow upward? Tender limbs be hurt? Is nature to bruise or to be our guide? Should man go his way or move with the tide? Life's a mountain road. We climb to the top to slip down mossy slides to sudden stop. Can we reach that height we fight to obtain, or solve the problem of our mountain lane? Think this foggy thought, never to be clear. We must get to there. We cannot stay here. 1957. You and I. Tonight the stars sparkle in our sky. We hold the stars in place, you and I. We lay pale statues on grass of green, conceiving, you and I, summer's dream. Life is just hard work. Jest. J-E-S-T, jest. Step out in the morning, it's drizzling rain. Like to stay in bed, gotta catch a train. No thinking nice thoughts, same old daily news. Gotta go to work to earn your union dues. Life's just hard work, but what you gonna do? Walk up the street, try to get across. Get almost nearly hit. Man yelps, get a hoss. Home and wife nagging. Get to work, lazy man. Yakking in my ears. Blisters on my hand. Life just hard work, but what you gonna do? You sweep the porch. Dishes you wash, like to run away, get yourself lost. But ain't no use thinking this neither. Won't get no peace until St. Peter. Life's just hard work, but what you gonna do? It's a foggy morn, hear the distant horn. Rain, here, hail and thorn. Wishing you ain't born. Goes dawn to dust, wishing for some fun, perhaps a little lust. Tain't found either one. Life's just hard work, but what you gonna do? 1957. 57. Might have been picking crops then. That was kind of hard work. Pennsylvania in December. Winds pile snow like hills. Tiny waterfalls, frozen ice. People cower against the chills. Pennsylvania in December. Okay, Wind Song. Wind Song's actually written to music that was popular then. I don't think it had lyrics. Probably had lyrics, and they never put it on the record. It's a little, but actually I wrote this maybe a little different from that. Wind Song. Ah, I am the whistler. I'm the wispy keeper, the ancient hymn. I whistle morning, I whistle night. Do you hear the whistler? Do you feel a fear you are blind to see? I whistle morning, I whistle night. Sometimes when I sing, they think the song is love, but in these shrouds I hide the icy tears of blood. Ah, I am the whistler, marching through the brown leaves, playing dirge tunes. I whistle morning, I whistle night, I whistle happily a sad song. I got an itchy nose, sorry about that. Home. Feel close the night. The night is lonely, damp and mist-filled, in search of tomorrow. Clouds are a ceiling, weeping willows are walls, green grass is a rug along the hall water. Feel close the night, feel you are home. 1957. Goodbye at Sunset. This poem is written in a way that it's like a poem's within a poem, and I'm going to read it straight through. It looks a little different on paper. It's somewhat of a graphic poem on paper. Goodbye at sunset. When parting at sunset, separate roads we go. Lives never to be met on some road we know. Towering under moonglow, totaling our final sum. We gave less than we owe, but all our earnings done. When parting at sunset, pulling shut the last gate, with the last look we get, at this time and this date, our setting sun won't wait when it's time we should die. Sharon's boat shan't be late. You shall go, so shall I. When parting at sunset, what will fading be like? Do you feel? Do you fret? Do you burst like a dike? Or like a wheelless bike stand in one place, turning pedals with all your might? Is parting cold or burning? Let's hope when daytime's done, despite odds opposing the bet, there are new roads to run when goodbying at sunset. 1955. I was 14. I'll read the afterword. In 1955, my family moved to Bucktown, a small village 5 miles south of Pottstown, Pennsylvania. I began school at North Coventry High that fall, drifted through 10th grade, feeling rather friendless, except for a neighbor boy named Richard Allen Wilson. Hot Rod Richard was written for him at his request, and he liked it very much. Richard and I later wrote some humor together. Note Richard Allen Wilson passed away in the 1990s in his 50s. I wrote some lyrics as a takeoff on South Pacific in 1957, a play I selected to parody because Oscar Hammerstein's second was a childhood idol of mine, and I called my opus South Cemetary. These 4 songs proved very popular at NORCO, as was a Bert and Harry Peel's beer ad I also wrote at that time. As a result of these bits, someone mentioned that I wrote things to Mrs. Manser, my 12th grade English teacher. Mrs. Manser not only opened the door for me to write and perform some assembly programs, but even set up a reading of my short stories and poems. The first 26 poems in this collection were comprising the poetry reading. These 26 poems are written in the years from 1955, Rich Man 16 Tons, through early 1959. They include obvious parodies such as I Beg of You, to my first original poem, Goodbye Tango, to Much Ado About Teenage Crisis, I Regret, School is a Pain in the Neck, Paul Anka, and so forth. Some of these poems were in the original Early in the Morning, got moved to another book because I ended this one with poems in 1958, and some of these were written later than that. As an upshot of this reading, I was asked to write the class poem. What I wrote was never used in the yearbook. This was the first time I wrote something on demand, and the demand was impossible. I was asked to write a short but funny poem that mentioned each one of my 106 classmates in such a way that highlighted their best-known characteristics. If I had it to do over, I would have just done a nice rhyme and let it go at that. I revised and added to that poem after graduation, which is why there is a reference to the short in a speaker that sends sparks shooting across the stage as we trooped up to get our diplomas. And that last note will mean nothing here because that poem is not included in this collection. It probably should have been buried in the backyard. Anyway, that was Early in the Morning by Larry Eugene Meredith when he was a child from the ages of 12 to 16, 1954, 1958. Thank you.